What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. So later on today, Konami will be holding a live stream or an event of some kind to go over plans for future products with Silent Hill. And in fact, it looks like one of those may have leaked out a bit early. We'll go over that here today. Also, we are going to be talking about that Bayonetta 3 situation that's exploded online because while we've had one side of the story this whole time, it appears we had some more information come out that has people wondering if they're still boycotting this game. And we'll also be talking about Mortal Kombat, as there was a new game that was announced. It just wasn't exactly what people were hoping to see. Guys, if you enjoy these videos, make sure you hit that like button, helps out a ton. And if you're new here to the Spawn Wave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And we're gonna start today with Xbox Game Pass games for the month of October, the second half, as we're working towards the end of this month. We do have some new titles that'll be dropped in. We can head over here to news.xbox.com. Starting at the top here with A Plague Tale Requiem that is now available, so you can check that one out. Moving to October 20th, starting tomorrow, Amnesia Collection, Cloud, Console, and PC. Amnesia Rebirth, that's Cloud, Console, and PC. Phantom Abyss, that's Game Preview, Cloud, PC, and Xbox Series X and S. Then we have Soma, Cloud, Console, and PC. Moving to October 21st, the big one, Persona 5, Royal, Cloud, Console, and PC. Fully recommend checking this one out. And also, I'm going to go a step further. I feel like this is a good game to pick up physically on the Xbox. I'm not sure how many of these will actually be printed and put into circulation. And you know what? The box art itself with the minimal Xbox tag at the top, I think looks really, really good. Then we move to October 27th with Frog Detective, The Entire Mystery on PC. Gunfire Reborn, Cloud, Console, and PC, and Signalis, that's Cloud, Console, and PC. So not a bad way to finish up the month of October with A Plague Tale Requiem and obviously Persona 5 Royal. So good stuff to check out there. Also, we had talked the other day about Gotham Knights and how it'd be capped at 30 frames per second on PC, and that's caused all kinds of conversation online. But we actually had some of the minimum system requirements that were published for the PC, and I was a little surprised on this one. Take a look. This over on the Twitter account for Gotham Knights with the minimum system requirements for 60 FPS at 1080p, needing a Core i5 and a GTX 1660 Ti. And if you move to recommended, that being just for high setting, 60 FPS, 1080p, an i7 and an RTX 2070. And remember, that's just 1080p at 60 FPS. To go above that, maybe ultra settings, 1440p. Do we start getting into the territory of a 3080? And I do question maybe the optimization around this game. We still have to see more about it. I'm sure Digital Foundry will dive completely into this one to give us an idea as to what we're looking at here. And it is odd. Again, the 30 FPS cap on the Series X and the PS5 and some of these higher than normal system requirements makes me wonder about that one, but I guess we'll find out here in a couple of days. Oh, and good news for all of you Sims fans out there, as it does look like a new game is in development. This we can see posted up by Nebellion over on Twitter. The Sims Project Green revealed a next generation Sims game. It's very, very early in development. We have some screenshots here of it. It's very easy to work together and share, and will offer the same experience on different devices. We can see them sort of doing like a little bit of a floor plan here in a room, and it appears they have a phone or tablet up against the computer screen, so you'll be able to work together with other people in real time, it seems, and go back and forth between these different devices. And the Sims series, well, I'm not into it necessarily. It was massive when it first came out back in the early 2000s on PC, and it still has a very, very large audience. So good to see there is another game in the series coming up, but it sounds like it's gonna be a while before it comes out, as this is very, very early on in development. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Silent Hill. We know that there is an event coming up here later on this afternoon with Konami maybe talking about video games. I know it's a crazy concept with Konami. At the very least, I'm sure they'll do some sort of series for Silent Hill on maybe Netflix, Amazon, or something there. But I do also think we will see some video games. And it looks like, in fact, one may have leaked a bit early through YouTube's automatic copyright claim system. It's good for something here, at least today. We can see this posted up by SHN Horror says, so I did a test run for my stream tomorrow, and wait a sec, Silent Hill 2 Part 1. Yeah, you can see it there. In fact, it is claimed by none other than Konami. Now, essentially, they would be, I'm sure, claiming different things when it comes to Silent Hill 2. It could be a trailer they released and they have the automatic claim system set up that's really annoying to deal with, but some trailers will do that. If it plays too long, it'll pick it up and you get hit with some sort of claim and you have to kind of work around that to the best of your ability, and it wouldn't shock me if Konami does have something like that set up, but it could also be pulling maybe audio or different things from Silent Hill 2, from, I guess, the PlayStation 2, or that HD collection they did that was pretty bad. One of the rumored games that is currently in development with Bluebird Team, I guess, is that Silent Hill 2 remake. The only thing that's a little concerning about this, it's Silent Hill 2 Part 1. Is this going to be an episodic series that we have to wait for them to release each episode as we go along? That's the only thing that would be a little annoying to deal with. I'd rather just have the entire game remade, and I guess the good thing about Bluebird Team is there's not a ton of confidence that they would show up and make an incredible game just based on stuff they've done with like the medium, which people really bash on that game at times. It was, to me, very, very average. All right, the concept was interesting with two different realities. It just never really came together, I think, like they were hoping it would, but clearly they can put a game together, just maybe not the story and so on, whereas Silent Hill 2, there's already a story and concept to work around. They just have to, well, remake it. In this case, though, episodes, I don't know. There's also rumor that there is an all-new original Silent Hill in development, and while Silent Hill 2 would be great to see remade for current times because it could certainly use it, and I'm sure that a lot of people have missed out on it, the episodic thing is what's really throwing me off. But the good news here is it does seem like there is some stuff we can look forward to later on today when Konami holds their big Silent Hill event. As I mentioned, I'm expecting quite a few announcements now, and hey, maybe multiple game titles even, so I guess we'll find out this afternoon. Next up, let's talk about that Bayonetta 3 voice acting situation. As over the weekend, it exploded online after Helena Taylor posted up a video detailing some of the pay that she was offered to voice Bayonetta in the newest game for the series, that being $4,000 as a flat rate. And after, of course, that went viral online, and there was a lot of talk around even boycotting the game, as that's what Helena Taylor was calling for. Well, there, of course, were thoughts that there could be more to this story, and in fact, we did get a report from Bloomberg detailing maybe some of the things that were left out here in this initial set of videos. We can see this posted up by Jason Schreier saying last weekend, Bayonetta's former voice actor called for fans to boycott the new game, saying she was offered just $4,000 to work on her. Twitter videos went viral and stoked a debate over voice actor wages. But the full story is much more complicated. It goes on to say Platinum offered Helena Taylor between $3,000 and $4,000 per session for at least 5 sessions. This is according to 2 people familiar with the deal and documentation viewed by Bloomberg. In response, the people said Taylor asked for a 6-figure fee and residuals, with negotiations, I mean, come on, obviously falling apart. Taylor denies his account. In an email to Bloomberg, she called that version of events an absolute lie and said that Platinum is trying to save their butts in the game. Taylor's videos have received more than 9.5 million views on Twitter and led to a deluge of calls from fans and pundits to boycott Bayonetta 3. Taylor's videos also led to a barrage of Twitter vitriol and harassment toward Platinum developers and the new Bayonetta actor, Jennifer Hale, who put out a statement. It's unlikely the full story will get as much traction or as many eyeballs as the original Twitter videos, which, yeah, it's going to be kind of hard to compete with Helena Taylor's original video, as it did get almost 10 million views. VGC has gone on to be able to corroborate most of the story here outside of that 6-figure ask from Helena Taylor, and in fact, they were able to get another quotation from her, essentially saying she'd like to leave this entire series kind of in the rear view mirror and move on, which is interesting because she was the person technically leading the boycott. And obviously this has changed a lot of people's views on this situation, because originally it was $4,000 for the entire game voicing Bayonetta, and now it's gone to $15,000 to $20,000. And on top of that, 4 or even 5 sessions amounts to $16,000 to 20 hours just based on the typical voice acting blocks that you'll do. And obviously there's a union behind all of this to make sure it's all within reason there. This would have been much higher than what the typical union rate is, and in fact would come out to, I mean, 1,000, maybe even a little more than that per hour, which, I mean, people hear that and they go, well, that actually sounds pretty fair overall. The thing I would at least argue in Helena's favor here is, I think in general, voice actors, you figure they would at least have some sort of residual pay as the game continues to sell. Because if you think about it in regards to Bayonetta, $15,000 to $20,000 for voice acting for a game that doesn't technically sell that well, sure, I guess you could look at it and say, okay, that makes sense. But then you get to a game that sells 20, 30, 40 million copies and you got paid out that much, you would think, well, man, I should have gotten some sort of residual pay because it would be significantly more than this chunk of money I got up front. And I guess if nothing else, at least it's brought a lot of awareness to the situation around voice actors and the amount that they're compensated in the gaming space. Because honestly, I didn't really think too much about it. I'm sure many other people hadn't thought much about how these voice actors were being paid and accommodated by these larger companies in, I mean, really an entertainment field that has just grown exponentially over the last couple of decades. So you figure their pay would also grow exponentially, at the very least, be more attached to the overall success that their voice is leading the way with. I have seen some people mention that they kind of doubt what's being said here, but I will tell you, it's been laid out here and it's kind of been followed up to me as well. There's documentation to show this. So the way I'm kind of picturing this is, all right, Platinum Games, there's an NDA in place. Jennifer Hale, there's an NDA in place. But what if, I don't know, what if that contract that may have been in a drawer somewhere that was for Helena Taylor or someone with that knowledge of it along with that contract just happened to accidentally make its way into an inbox somewhere that Jason Schreier has access to. You get what I'm saying there, right? It's like the NDA, not technically broken publicly, just information maybe slipped under the door. So yeah, there appears to be documentation backing this up, and Helena Taylor, while she's refuting it, is also pretty interested in just kind of moving on from the entire situation. So there we have it. I'm not sure if there's gonna be much more information to get out there, as it seems pretty straightforward getting both sides of the story. And now you can decide if $15,000 to $20,000 that Helena Taylor seemed to turn down, asking for 6 figures in residuals, would have been enough for Bayonetta 3 and voicing that character. Oh, and very quickly, the last bit of the puzzle seems to be Platinum Games, I guess, lying about why they didn't retain Helena Taylor as the voice. If you think about it, the only thing they could have done is just tell you, hey, there was a pay dispute, it broke down, she wanted 6 figures and residuals, we offered $15,000 to $20,000. And in that case, people would have probably turned on Helena Taylor and be like, why didn't you just take that to voice Bayonetta? So in a sense, yeah, it was kind of a roundabout PR way of trying to skirt past the explanation, and that's sort of what you expect in the corporate world. So sure, kind of a lie, but also kind of them trying to not just throw Helena Taylor under the bus necessarily, and open themselves up to, I'm sure, a lawsuit of some kind, as she'd probably be able to sue with the whole NDA thing. Next up, let's talk about that DualSense Edge, as it was revealed fully with the release date and pricing. Remember, this was first shown during Jeff Keighley's Gamescom opening night live, and it was basically going to be the competitor to the Xbox Elite controller. And it's something we've expected Sony to do for a little while, because the Elite controller for Microsoft seems to sell well enough. In fact, it's even gone into their designer lab now to where you can play around and customize it completely. But we can take a look here, this over on the PlayStation blog, saying DualSense Edge wireless controller for PS5 launches globally on January 26th. The pricing they've outlined here is $200 US. They will also sell those replaceable stick modules at $20. So essentially, if one of the sticks gets drift, which is getting more and more well known in the industry now with controllers, especially Joy-Cons, you'll be able to change them out on your own. So that, in one sense, is nice, since you don't have to then get rid of the entire controller and buy another one completely. They also go over some of the other features, which includes button remapping, the ability to fine-tune stick sensitivity, and triggers and options to swap between multiple controller profiles. I do like the hair triggers. That's probably the biggest thing that I've been able to take advantage of with the Xbox Elite controller. Basically, the travel of the trigger is lessened significantly, which for shooters like Halo really helps any like the semi-automatic weapons. They have a breakdown of everything that's included and also an image here of the carrying case, which you can charge with the controller inside of. That has the USB braided cable, standard caps, high dome caps, low dome caps, and half dome back buttons, and then 2 lever back buttons, the connector housing, and that carrying case. Pre-orders will go live next week on the 25th, and while it is set to launch January 26th officially, that'll just be through the direct PlayStation Store online, and retailers should be getting this in starting February 23rd. The pricing at $200, I saw that seemed to surprise some people online, but looking around at the market, that's basically the asking price for these premium controllers. The Xbox Elite controller, they even pulled a lot of the extra accessories out and did the core controller so they could lower the price down. But if you take the core controller and all the accessories with the carrying case added together, it's within about $10 of this DualSense Edge controller from Sony. The one thing I'm curious about, and they didn't mention it, which has me a little concerned, is if the battery life is improved with this, because typically we expect these controllers to be heavier. And in that case, Sony or Microsoft, whoever, would probably go, okay, let's just increase the battery life. It's easier to market that as it being 20 or 30 hours of battery life compared to what it is currently, and just another selling point. But the fact they didn't highlight it makes me think it's nothing substantial, which would be unfortunate. But I do like the premium controllers, and I'll be looking forward to checking this one out, I'm sure, in a video. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a new Mortal Kombat game that was announced. Here is the website for it. Let's see, Mortal Kombat Onslaught. All right, look at the background there. We got Scorpion, Sub-Zero, there's Katana, Raiden. This looks pretty cool. Scroll down, and it's a new mobile RPG experience in 2023. Yeah, it was very deflating when you got to that second line on the website for a lot of people, because yeah, they kind of just announced a cell phone game. I think a lot of us were hoping for Mortal Kombat 12 or Shaolin Monks remake. None of that. But if we take a look at Business Wire, they do have a little more information on this one, where they say it's a collection role-playing game launching globally in 2023 for mobile devices, developed and co-published by award-winning NetherRealm Studios. That's what they've been up to. All right. A Mortal Kombat Onslaught will feature the first mobile-exclusive cinematic story experience for the franchise, where players must build a team of fighters from a vast roster of characters and unleash them in massive real-time group battles to stop a dark and dangerous threat from wreaking havoc across the realms. We did get a little more indication from Ed Boon as to how this will kind of play, where he said, with Mortal Kombat Onslaught, we reimagined Mortal Kombat into a strategic, team-based collection RPG with fast-paced group melee combat that both new and existing fans can enjoy. So this sounds like it's a gacha game. Obviously, it's in the mobile space, and that's what makes the most money. And I've mentioned before, we're going to see more and more of these console intellectual properties find their way to mobile devices in some way, shape, or form. And in this case, it sounds like it's going to be kind of action-oriented still, but you'll be, I'm sure, collecting different characters from the series through way of summons or loot boxes or whatever. There's still a lot of information they need to go over, and they at least said there's going to be console-level cinematics. That's, I guess, one of the big selling points there. It's a disappointing announcement for anyone who was looking for the big Mortal Kombat reveal, or just something new from NetherRealm Studios that would be more in line with the big console game, but in this case, a new cell phone game coming out next year for Mortal Kombat. And before we go to the comment of the day, we're going to take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, are you picking up the DualSense Edge at $200 when it releases next year? Yeah, 93% said no. 7% said yes, and the premium controller market, it's still a niche market because, I mean, the cheaper controller still works just fine. The premium controllers are geared more towards, I guess, the competitive play. As I mentioned, the biggest thing I like about it would be the hair triggers, and if Sony and Microsoft just did that and made it even cheaper than this premium one, that's probably all I'd pick up, because even the back buttons, while there are some games I'll use them for, it's not very frequent. Even like the controller profiles, I do like the better feel of the controllers, but even that probably isn't necessarily worth going up to almost triple the price. So I understand not many people are going to be looking to pick this up at $200, but as I said, I'm curious, and I guess we'll find out going into next year what Sony has for us at that $200 DualSense price. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Gary saying, I value John's opinion and often agree with him, but one area in which I hope he is wrong is that we will ever reach an all-digital future. Even if digital games increasingly take more of the market share than physical, I still want the option of physical for those who prefer it. I hope I'm wrong too. I'd like to think that in 20 years, you could still walk into a store and buy the PlayStation 8 or PlayStation 9 game right off the shelf and you're fine, good to go, drop it right in the disk drive, or who knows, maybe you just have it on a little card that's like a mini SSD that you pop it in and you don't have to do installs. That would be great. The only issue I have, and the reason I believe we are heading towards a digital future, is because all of the publishers want it, and it's becoming increasingly obvious that even the platform holders want it. Microsoft pushing towards subscription services, even Nintendo pushing towards subscription services. You can't buy any of those retro games on their store even. And Sony is apparently working to develop a PS5 that has an optional disk drive as their main SKU. So, as I mentioned, I think in 10 years, we probably won't have physical media for Microsoft or Sony, and then I do believe Nintendo will eventually follow because, I mean, if the entire market's pushing that way, it's most likely even Nintendo will have to succumb to that digital future. But hey, I guess we'll find out. The next big indication, I think, will be when the PlayStation 6 and whatever the next Xbox is released in, say, 2027 or so, and if they have disk drives equipped or not. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Was the Bayonetta 3 voice acting situation with some of the new information getting out there. How do you feel about this heading into the game's release? And then also, Silent Hill. Big event coming up later on this afternoon, maybe Silent Hill 2 Remake Part 1, leaking a bit early. What are your expectations from Konami? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.